few more than that. But I did put all the steps on your paper, so you will want to make sure you keep this paper to follow all 4 of your steps. So, we are going to be factoring again today. So we did in-middle factoring on our warm-up. Today we're going to be doing what's called AC factoring. And it's more time consuming, is all it is. It's not super difficult, it just takes a little while. So, but I gave you all of the steps you need. So we're going to find the factored form of 5x squared plus 11x plus 2. Now, when we look at these, we have A, B, and C are the numbers in here. A, B, and C are the numbers. So A is always by x squared, B is always by x, C is always just chilling off by itself. So in this, A is 5, B is 11, C is 2. What we're going to do is what's called AC factoring. I'm going to take the number for A, and I'm going to multiply it by the number for C. A is 5 times C is 2, which is 10. Right? This is going to kind of combine what we did with in-middle factoring too. So A times C is 10. I want to know what times what is 10 and adds up to B, the number in the middle, which is 11. What times what is 10 and adds up to 11? Did you say 6 and 5? 6 times 5 is not 10.
No. 10 times 1.
Let's do 10 times 1. Ooh, this guy got it. So 10 times 1 is 10. 10 plus 1 is 11. So we got our two numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these two numbers, and since 10 plus 1 is 11, right? You see how B is 11 right here?
I hope so.
What we're going to do is we're going to cross out this 11x, and we're going to replace it with a 10x plus a 1x. So 10 plus 1 is still 11, so it's still in there, but we are going to replace it. So I'm going to have a 5x squared plus 10x plus 1x plus 2. So I did AC, A times C, which was 10. I said what times what is 10 and adds up to the B, which was 11, the number in the middle. And then we split up B with our two things. Okay, I'm just going to copy this because my steps are on a different slide.
Wait, so that's just only two of them?
Yeah, so we have another slide of things we're going to do, but I'm going to...
There better be like 2 questions in the whole
there won't be very many. Hang on, let me just copy... I'm just going to copy this real quick. Because I can't go back and just look at my notes, so I'm just going to copy and paste it over here. So come on. There we go. Alright, so this is what I got before. What I'm going to do, and this is step 3 now. There are 4 steps, we're on step 3. So step 1 was do A times C and figure out how to split it up. Step 2 was actually split it up. Step 3, and this is what is probably going to take the most time, is we are going to put parentheses around the first 2 and parentheses around the second 2. And we're going to have to think back a little bit before winter break. And we're going to factor out the GCF, the greatest common factor, from each parenthesis. So we're going to factor out the GCF twice. Woo! And this is the time-consuming one. Okay. So in my first parenthesis, I have 5x squared plus 10x. What number goes into 5 and 10? What's the biggest number?
2.
2 goes into 5 and 10? 5. There we go.
5.
So 5 goes in here, right? So I'm going to take out a 5. But can't I also take out an x?
Could we just make it a 2 and or a 1 and a 2?
We're going to take out a 5x. We're going to factor that out. And I have to factor out something from my second parenthesis. When I do this, I always have to factor something out. What number goes into 1 and 2?
1.
Just 1. So I'm going to factor out a 1. And remember, this is kind of like dividing, except I'm going to end up having something outside. So I'm going to factor out 5x from the first one, right? And then on the inside, it's like dividing. What's 5 divided by 5?
25.
And then, what happens with x squared over x?
What? You said 25 is 1.
That's bad if that was times.
Yeah.
Alright, x squared over x cancels out, and I have just a single x left over. Because remember, if I have two x's on the top, and I have one on the bottom, because x squared is x and x, they cancel out. And I have one left on top. And then I'm going to keep going. Plus 10 over 5 is 2. And what happens with x over x?
Gone.
They're gone. Okay? Then I'm going to keep going. I'm factoring out a 1 for my second parenthesis.
1 or 0.
And then and then it's kind of like I'm dividing on the inside. We have, what's 1 divided by 1? 1. And then I don't have any x, so I'm just, any other x's other than that 1 on top, so I'm going to write it down. 1x. And then plus, what's 2 divided by 1? 2. Okay. Excuse me. So I factored out 5x from the first one, and I got 1x plus 2. Factored out a 1 from the second one, I get 1x plus 2. So you see how we got the same thing inside parentheses? That's how we know we did this right. So we are almost done. We have one last step, but this is the easiest one. So I'm going to get 2 answers. So you know how when we did our warm-up, we got 2 parentheses?
No.
We got
Who
2
knows?
parentheses here.
Who
We're going to get
knows?
2 parentheses again. My first answer, I'm going to get from the things that I factored out, from the stuff on the outside. I took out a 5x, right? So I'm going to go 5x. And then I took out a positive 1. That's a positive 1, right? So I'm going to go plus 1. That's my first parenthesis.
And 1.
Was these 2 top pieces. And I just kind of shoved them together in my first part of my answer. My second answer, I just take, you see how we got the same thing inside the parentheses? I'm going to pick one and I'm going to put it down for my second one. 1x plus 2. This is my final answer. So I take what I factored out, the 5x and the 1, and I shoved them together in my first part. And I just picked one and I shoved it in for my second one. My final answer is 5x plus 1 and then 1x plus 2. So you guys have done all of this stuff before. We're just putting them all together into kind of long problems. And you will want to make sure you follow the steps. These steps will tell you what you need to do every time.
So the second one just stays the same?
Yep. That 1x
So
plus 2.
before we multiply, do we use the, what's it been called, or we just leave it? Or?
A times c? Yeah, here, we'll go over another one. Okay. So we're going to do another couple of these. Like I said before, these are kind of long problems, so we're not going to do very many, but we're going to do a couple. So I'm going to find the factored form of 6x squared plus 13x plus 5. We need to do AC factoring first. Step 1 says do A times C. So I have A, I got B, I got C. So this is my step 1 right here.
Would you do 6 times 5, or would you use the square already?
Just the 6 times 5, yeah.
That's all I want
So
to know.
A is the number 6, C is the number 5. I'm going to go A times C, which is 6 times 5,
So 25 and then 13.
which is 30.
30.
6 times 5 is 30. I want to know what times what equals 30 and adds up to the number in the middle now, which is 13.
10 times 3.
10 and 3, right? Alright, it's not too bad. So I'm going to go 10 and 3. 10 plus 3 is 13. So this was step 1. Step 1 said do A times C, figure out what the 2 numbers you need. And then step 2 says take those numbers, the 10 and the 3, and you put x's on them because we had x's, right? And we're going to take these, and instead of having this 13x, we're going to replace it with 10x plus 3x. So this is my step 2 now that I'm going to work on. So, 6x squared, that stays the same.
Plus 10x
Yep.
plus 3x
Plus 10x. Then I'm going to have plus 3x.
plus 5.
And then at the very end, I'm going to have plus 5.
Do we do the parentheses?
That's step 3, yeah. So, step 1 was find your numbers. Step 2 is replace the b with those numbers. Step 3 now, this is the kind of long, annoying step. Step 3 says put parentheses around the first two and around the second two. And then we gotta factor out whatever we can. So, I'm gonna look at my first parentheses, 6x squared plus 10x. What's the biggest number that goes in 6 and 10?
2.
2, right? So I'm gonna take out a 2, and I'll give you a hint. On the very first one, you will always take out an x also.
Do we put the x down there for 3x plus 5? Or does it take it out, cancel out?
On the, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm taking out a 2x. I'll give you a hint. On the first parenthesis, there's always an x you take out. So I'm going to factor out that 2x, put it out in front. What about my second parenthesis? What's the biggest number that goes in 3 and 5?
Uno.
Just 1. We have to take out a number, and we're going to take out the number 1. That's going to go out. So, first parenthesis, you're always going to take out an x, or it could be like an s or a t or whatever variable. I think they're all x today, but sometimes they might not be. The second parenthesis is always just a number. So, I'm going to factor out a 2x, and then I'm going to have left over, what's 6 divided by a 2? 3. What happens with x squared over x?
Just one
Yeah,
x.
just the x left over, right? And then I'm going to go plus
5.
10 divided by 2 is 5, and the x's cancel out. Very nice.
And then it's 3 plus 5.
And then I factored out a 1. And then I do 3x over 1 is still 3x. That doesn't change. 3 over 1 is 3. Plus 5 over 1 is 5. And we are almost done. We have almost finished all our work. We just need to make our final answer, which is on step 4.
2x plus 1.
So step 4
3 plus 5.
says we're going to have 2 parentheses for our final answer. For my first parenthesis, I take the outside pieces and I shove them together into 1. So I have a 2x, and because that's a positive 1, right, I'm going to go plus 1.
Oh.
I'm just shoving them in together. My second parenthesis, I just pick like the very last thing, and I'm going to shove it in the second one. So 3x plus 5. This is my final answer. You guys are actually doing a lot better on this than I thought you would. We did this in Algebra 2 like 2 weeks ago, and they didn't even do this good. So we're still gonna practice one. You guys are gonna help me out with the next one, and then you guys are gonna do one on your own, and then that'll be it.
Can this one be the in class?
You guys want to do an in class already, or you want to practice one?
Yeah, in class.
Really?
Yeah.
Alright. Actually, alright. Let's do this one as an in class problem then.
Oh, I was already doing the.
No, we are.
I know it's too late. It's too late. We're doing this one.
The difficult one.
This one's a tough one.
Nice.
But no, I guess you can do it as an in class, I guess.
Nice.
Remember, follow all of your steps.
140, right?
45.
Step 1 says do A times C,
You sure?
and then
Yeah.
figure out what multiplies
10
to
times
that
14.
and adds up to the number in the middle.
10 times 14?
That's
So,
140.
if you're
right?
not sure,
Negative
I can help you get started.
Negative. I just want to know if it's 140 or
Yeah,
not.
it's 140.
Okay, that's all I need to know. I don't care if it's negative. It's necessary, but I just want to know if it's 140.
Yeah, okay, question time.
I was talking to Philbert too.
Don't forget, follow your steps. There's steps 1 through 4. They're on your paper. You're going to use them on every single problem. So if you don't know what to do, look at what step you're on and see what it says.
It's funny because I probably put them on there, but this is like my first period, technically.
Now put plus negative 5. Five times 5 is 25.
That's all right. Alright, cool.
And I'll give you a hint, one of these numbers is gonna be positive, one's gonna be negative.
I got it.
If you're stuck on this part, finding out what times what is negative 140 and adds up to 31, I might be able to give you a little bit of a hint. If you ask.
Oh, we skipped, never mind.
Did you do the wrong one, Tyler?
I was doing the wrong one too.
Stuck on this one?
Yeah.
One of the numbers is 4.
What, is it positive or negative?
I'm not gonna tell you.
You're not gonna tell me.
I'll give you a hint. One of the numbers is 4, but I'm not going to tell you if that one is the positive or negative one. You're going to have to figure it out yourself.
You're negative.
I am sometimes. You know that?
Negative
I
4.
understand.
Oh, that's fine.
Yes. I get it. That's what I was trying to do before, goddammit.
Don't you ever swear in this Christian school again?
That was my first time. That's the second time.
This is why you're gonna have.
What was that?
You heard me?
I studied.
It's 35 and 4, guys.
Thanks.
Where did you start? What time would it be?
Yes, Jade, you're faster than everyone. Oh, I just said 35 and 4. Oh, 35 and negative.
Did I hear somebody sharing answers?
I asked for help.
Yelled it out loud.
One boy did first.
Yep.
No, but you didn't hear.
Nope. Nope, whoever did it first.
I thought
I thought it was Ryan.
No,
Because
it's
I
not-
get 4 plus 35 is 31.
What?
They multiply, don't forget that's a...
No.
Oh.
I thought the other way that you just said, like,
That didn't make
I was like, okay, I call it J. I call it
Oh, I thought that was the equal.
Oh,
bad.
nah.
So that's step 1, right? What's step 2?
Okay, that's first step.
Oh, yeah, Mom.
I'm not allowed
I totally just spaced you.
Second step, rewrite.
So we don't need to crowd no more, yeah?
For the excavator.
Ah.
If you're done, so start the
to
excavator.
do this, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm finding them.
Don't forget, follow your steps. If you're not sure what to do, ask me. And we'll kind of go over too.
I swear, we just need to do one problem. I just want to do one problem.
And the homework's not going to be very big. I know these take a while, so don't freak out about that if
One
you're
problem.
worrying about it.
No problem.
I'll give you a hint, since most people are already there. Your two numbers are -4 and 35. So we actually just did step 1, or step 1 is on the board. Everything good? Keep it
I always
going.
forget to space it, and I hate putting the 1 there. When I'm putting the parentheses around.
I know, it's annoying that you have to take out a number, always, but...
And then 2. Split.
Don't forget to put your X and X on there, because we're splitting up the 31X to be those two things.
And then after we finally got grades coming with text, right?
Yep, that's the next step, that's step 3 now. Mhm.
So what do
So put your parentheses around them, just so we can kind of split them up. Yep, and good. Okay, and then look at each parenthesis. What's the biggest thing that goes in 10 and 4?
2.
And don't forget, we always take an extra X out of the first parenthesis also.
Okay, I need to
So
go.
it's 2X.
It's -4, -14. I could use
So
2, right?
On this one, take out the -2. That way that first one is positive.
Okay, so then when I do that, that'll just be 2.
Yep, that'll be 2 and then plus. Oh, I'm sorry, 2X plus 7.
Easy money. All the money.
Good.
I have
Good. You're on step 4 now. Make your final answer.
5x
Wait,
I'm good.
plus
Okay, don't forget. So when you split this up, don't forget to put your X there.
parentheses
Because that's a 31X, right?
plus
So
7.
put X in it.
Dunsky's. You said X is second?
Yep.
goals.
It's easier than mouse one.
There you
though.
go.
So
Yeah.
we'll be
Go ahead.
So, okay, so I guess.
Matter of time. Oh, okay, I see.
Well, because I thought that it was an eight.
So, okay, we're gonna take this here, and we're going to take the 31, and that's what we're splitting apart into this and this. So we have 10x squared, right? And then I'm gonna go minus 4x. Then I'm gonna go plus 35x, and then I'm gonna go minus 14. That's how I'm splitting up. Now you can make your parentheses and keep going. Is that alright?
Okay, so after finding the greatest common factor was.
Then, alright, so now we're gonna factor it out. And on this one, always take an x out of the first one, and the second one is always just a number. Because is there an x right here?
Yeah.
By the 14?
Yeah.
No.
Or no.
There's minus 14 there. So we're just taking out a 7. And then it's kind of like dividing.
Go
So we
keep.
took out a 2x here, right?
Yeah.
And then, what's 10 divided by 2?
5.
And then x over x, or excuse me, x squared over x. Just a single
Hey
x.
Beard, if you help me, I can enter this into Socrates.
I'm almost done. That's fire. Okay, and then we keep going.
Wait,
What's
so
4
Socrates
divided by
not
2? And what happens with x over x? There it's gone.
I'm done skis. I'm
Okay,
out of
keep going.
here.
We took
I'm
out a
dropping
7. What do I have left? Keep going.
Guess what I got?
Oh yeah, huh?
A frisbee. Yeah, dude, look at it. It's pretty cool. You want to play frisbee during lunch?
This one? Remember we took out just a regular
You
7?
want to play
X stays
frisbee
there.
during lunch?
Good. You're almost done. Just the one last step.
Boy, boy.
Last step is.
Got you right here. Bro, that's three. They told
Good. Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
For confirmation. Hold on. Do I need to put that there still?
Put what?
Hey.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Take care.
And then
Ooh.
that'd be 5 or 1.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
1.
I'm on one, like, with literally not even a step. Like,
3.
I'm on
That's
step.
it.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the last step.
Wait.
Probably
5. X is gone.
Smokey the bear.
Those both go into 1.
I think I was Smokey.
Shut up. 1. Parentheses. And now we. No, that's what that confused.
Oh, dude, this is easy.
You're divided by 1.
So it's still be 1?
Yeah, it's just gonna be 1.
Okay.
Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
X is
Wait.
gone.
Nope, stays there. X stays there, because you split it by 1.
Okay, I read what happened before.
We're gonna go, let's go over this to class.
No, we
Class,
can't.
we're gonna go over this class, alright.
Put on the powder first.
This is easy.
Not yet.
Easiest part.
No, you didn't.
Okay, so let's go over this. We did step 1. Step 2 says we gotta rewrite it, right?
Yeah.
So, 10x squared
And look at the sockets.
minus 4x plus 35x minus 14. Don't forget, on step 1 we found the numbers, but when I put them in, I have to put these x's on. You gotta put your x's there, don't forget about that.
I
Okay,
finished the exit ticket.
yep, I'll turn it on in just a second, once we're done going over it.
No!
Okay, so, step 2, said split it up. Step 3, we are gonna put parentheses and we're gonna factor stuff out. So help me out, Jake, what can I take out of the first one?
What now?
What can I take out of this first parenthesis?
2.
2.
And
1.
X.
2x. Always take an x out of the first one.
Didn't understand.
Without a problem. Okay, and then what am I taking out of the second parenthesis, DeAndre?
A cool thing. What?
What am I taking out of the second
7.
parenthesis? 7. So it's kind of like dividing by 7. Okay, put it out in front. So I factored out a 2x, and then I'm gonna have a 5x left over. Minus 4 over 2 is 2, x over x cancels out. And we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna factor out a 7. 35x over 7 is 5x minus 2 still. Alright, so we factored stuff out. Just save a little bit of time, I did it. Alright, step 4, our last step now. This is where we get our final answer. We're going to get 2 parentheses. So Quadri, help me out. What am I going to put in the first parenthesis? Yep, 2x. And what else?
Shut up.
You got this.
11. It's a.
And what?
7.
7. And that's we're going to put in a plus 7 because this right here is a positive. That's a positive 7, even though we didn't write the plus. Okay, and then my second parenthesis, Caleb, what am I going to put in the second parenthesis?
I did all right.
Yep.
Okay.
5x minus 2.
Yep. 5x minus 2. And that's it. That's our final answer. Good. You guys did pretty good. All right. If you haven't yet, start on your exit ticket. I'll turn on Socrative. And then I will put your homework on Google Classroom. And then you guys have the rest of the class to work on it. You guys did really good. Way better than other classes.
Alright, can you do the exit ticket?
Yep, I'm turning it on right now.